According to a MarketWatch report, many Americans age 65 and older are earning income in retirement. That may come as no surprise to you, especially considering the economy lately. Older Americans in the uppermost income quintile earned income represents 38% of their total income in retirement, and on average it equals 25%. My guest is Michael Kitces. He is editor and publisher of the Kitces Report, as well as director of research at Pinnacle Advisory Group. Welcome back, Michael.
Good to be back. Good to talk to you.
We have been trained as Americans to think of life in two phases. We have our working life and then our retirement life. And other reports have showed that the average baby boomer right now couldn't even think about retiring until age 73. So what we're looking at is a lot of people who, are considering working in retirement. Is that as easy as it sounds? Because we have an unemployment rate of around 9%. And 65-year-old workers aren't as attractive as those in their mid-20s.
Well, we do think it's feasible. Now, certainly, there are a lot of challenges to it for both the reality of simply older workers trying to get work as well as doing so in today's environment. But, one of the biggest differences that we see right off the bat when we look at folks in we'll call it an upper age bracket looking for work is, many of them really are not looking for the same kind of jobs and positions that, frankly, others are looking for when they're younger or that they themselves were looking for when they were younger. And so, while we see a lot of people struggling to, say, get full-time work in a, quote-unquote high-paying job, it may not necessarily be the same outcome if a baby boomer who has many, many years of experience goes to a company they're familiar with in their industry and says, look, I'm just looking to work 15 or 20 hours a week. Mm-hmm. I'd simply like to be able to give, back to my industry a little bit and do some work in this area and share my, wealth of expertise and experience. And, I'm not looking to come in and do this and make an income anywhere near where I was before, and I don't necessarily need to.
The context that we're really seeing for it, what really shifts, and this is a mental shift itself that I think is difficult for a lot of us. We go through the better part of our working lives always kind of oriented around this idea of, our career and our income always has to have this linear step forward. We have this strong focus that we're kind of taught is the whole path of career progression is, every step should be a higher paying, higher responsibility job position than whatever it was that we had before, and anything that is not that is considered a setback that we hope to recover from at some point in the future. Mm-hmm. And, the reality of what we see for workers in retirement is a very, very different picture. It's not about that linear progression forward anymore. Mm-hmm. They've been through, frankly, what may have already been their peak earning years. And the goal now is not, I need a job that is, the highest paying job I've ever had because I'm at the most senior point in my career that I've ever been. It's, I would just like some employment income because some additional income coming to the household is better than not having it come into the household. And having that available may mean I rely less on my retirement income or retirement assets. It might mean I don't even need to use them at all for a little while. Mm-hmm. And we just get a very different picture of how retirement looks. And so, once we take away some of those constraints, what we find in practice is that a lot of people actually have far more flexibility to find a job in, quote-unquote, in retirement than they originally thought. Mm-hmm. Because we don't need to be tied to this idea of, I can only look for positions that pay me at least as much as the last position that I had with at least as much responsibility.
Right.
In practice, for our retired or maybe what I call quasi-retired clients, that's not what we're looking for at all. We're looking for a position with significantly less responsibility, often significantly less time, and frankly, often significantly less dollars.
Right.
And the goal is not how can I find a full-time position paying $75 or $100 or $150,000 or whatever our income might have been at our peak. It might be what can I do to find a job that might only even be part-time where I'm working 15 to 25 hours of meaningful work for me and earning some reasonable income for that. And I might be hunting for something that, depending on my job and industry, might be a $15 or $30 or $50,000 job, not a $150,000 job. And sadly, when we go looking for positions like that, frankly, we find a lot of clients actually having more success in their job search, not less. Mm-hmm. Because when we're looking in that context, suddenly, a lot of jobs that would not have been on the table before come right onto the table. And frankly, a lot of businesses who can't afford to hire someone who's got many, many years of experience for a full-time, high-paying job might be very interested in talking to someone about a part-time position with very limited number of hours that allows them to get some meaningful value for the business and only cost them a fraction of the price because they're not hiring a full-time, highly experienced person.
In the last closing couple of minutes here, talk about maybe the first couple of steps you could offer as advice for somebody who is in this position. Because when I'm getting what you're saying is this, in many ways, is an opportunity. Some people over their careers feel shackled to a job that's full of a lot of pressure. This is an opportunity where you don't necessarily absolutely need it, and the pressure's off, and you can actually find it a little bit more fulfilling.
Absolutely. The starting point that we often come back to talk to our clients about is, what is it about your job and your work that you do enjoy? I mean, which part is it that you actually really do enjoy? And, let's start trying to vision what a job or position might look like that did predominantly that and not much else. Once you figure out what kind of position it is that you want, what sort of work it is that you really enjoy, mm-hmm. You might find that job description isn't actually so difficult to fill.
Mm-hmm. Well, in the broadcasting business, there's always a lot of consultants around, and those are usually programmers who can't find jobs. And there's always a consultant job available for you somewhere.
Yeah, but that's part of the point to it. I would imagine a lot of those consultants are folks that are desperately looking for full-time work and can't find it, and they're settling for whatever they can get, and frankly aren't necessarily happy with it sometimes. Versus, no, I've been in the business for 30-something years, and I don't want to be doing it full-time anymore, and I'd like to just do a little bit of consulting part of the time, and that's not a job position I'm falling back to. That's actually one I proactively would seek out. And, imagine how that feels for a business when someone comes forward and says, no, I'm really just looking for this position. This isn't a settling for me. I'm not going to be gone the minute a better opportunity comes along. I'm just genuinely looking to do this part-time for a number of years going forward.
Michael Kitces is the editor and publisher of the Kitces Report, as well as he is director of research at Pinnacle Advisory Group. Michael, a pleasure. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure. Happy to help.